Hey guys, it's Alexander Creek, astrologer and intuitive. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Libra, happening at 23 degrees on the 12th of April, exactly about 6:30-ish p.m. I say exactly and then say ish. When I did these notes, it's around 6:30 p.m. Denver, Colorado time. So in case you wanted to know the exact kind of moment of that full moon. This full moon really signals the direct station of Venus, and Venus has been retrograde for about 40 days, roughly since the I think right at the beginning of March. And Venus is the planet of love, beauty, relationships, balance, harmony. And this full moon really kind of signals the arrival and the sort of glorious, dramatic direct station of Venus, as well as some other stuff kind of going on with this full moon. So I also encourage you to, if you haven't checked it out already, go ahead and check your April horoscope. I talk about the new moon, the full moon, a bunch of other stuff happening for your sign, and also kind of what the astrology looks like generally for the collective for April. So some of this will be a recap of that. But I think there's maybe some newer insights that we can see as, this version of me in the middle of April with me recording this versus me, I don't know, the end of March recording this. Maybe because we sort of lived through some of this astrology, maybe we have sort of some different insights and some different takes. But either way, I think it's going to be a good refresher. So let's go ahead and get into this energy. We're also going to be doing a look for your sign in the second half of this video. And remember, if you're liking what you're seeing, if you're vibing with me, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave me a comment letting me know how you're feeling under this astrological weather. And if you'd like to work with me, I am a professional astrologer, and I also do psychic medium readings as well. And if you'd like to work with me, kind of get more insight on your life and where you're going, you can find me at dogstar.oracle.com, DOGSTAR oracle.com. The spelling for that is going to be in the comment section on YouTube, where you can find all my links, and also in the show notes on the audio version of the podcast. So let's go in with this forecast. So first of all, what is interesting about this? One of the things that's interesting about this full moon is that this full moon, we always want to look at the planet ruling that lunation to see what that planet is doing. So obviously I talked about, Venus, the ruling planet of Libra, is going to be stationing direct in the sign of Pisces. And it did go retrograde in the sign of Aries in March, so it's been retrograde for about 40 days. Venus in Pisces is a very powerful place for Venus to be. Venus in Pisces is really good at creating beauty, at aesthetics, like it's like in love with being in love. Venus being in Pisces right now means that we have more of a capability to appreciate relationships, to appreciate art, to kind of get lost in the moment, and to really, I see Venus in Pisces as like a very romantic sign. So there are definitely these themes of Venus being in Pisces and really kind of just being able to appreciate, I think, like the beauty of the everyday around us. And what I think is what is kind of more important, though, is when Venus stations direct, she's essentially been kind of hovering around this conjunction with the planet Saturn, the planet of limitation and realism and hard lessons and long-term commitment. So with Venus kind of going direct, and she's going direct, then we'll be conjunct Saturn a few days later. And so there's this energy of, I think, getting a lot of clarity around relationships or things that Venus rules. So Venus is anything connected to art and beauty and relationships, or things that have value or worth in our lives. And Venus for you is going to also rule some different topics as well. It depends on your rising sign. Let's say if you are Gemini rising, then Venus is going to rule your hidden 12th house of like subconscious things and mental health, and then as well as I'm actually not sure off the top of my head. Taurus and then Libra. And so and then Venus would rule like romance things for Gemini rising, because Libra is on the 5th house of children, romance, and passion. So I had to do that one off the top of my head. I was like, I'm not actually prepared about that. But so under this full moon, this could be like a really important like decision making time. You know, uh, things around relationships, things around like serious commitment. Like, am I prepared to spend the next 20 years, I don't know, like, you know, paying off a loan for something that I'm going to buy that's going to cost me a lot of money? Am I wanting to spend like a commitment or long term energy in this relationship, or whatever it is that Venus is sort of ruling for you? And because Venus has sort of gone onto her sort of underworld kind of retrograde journey, she does sort of emerge in the morning sky with sort of a new sense of clarity. Like, she's sort of gone through this journey of like reflecting, revising, reviewing, and really kind of considering like what brings beauty and worth to our life, and like what is it that we are willing to put some time and work into when she with her being conjunct Saturn. So these are some things like our serious commitments, our long-term commitments. These themes are really going to be coming up around this full moon and really kind of being assessed at the time of this full moon. But you know, just for being in Pisces, this is a time to enjoy quality time with others, to enjoy, again, those simple pleasures in life: art, beauty, connection, creativity. So definitely kind of appreciate these things around this full moon, if that's, you know, if that's something that you're kind of guided to do at this time. Just that full moon being in Libra itself, you know, Libra is a social energy. Libra wants to appreciate beauty. It wants to sort of gather together. It wants to create art. It wants to indulge in like fashion and beauty and like things that bring pleasure. And given that she's in an air signs, you know, it's often kind of a more like buzzy kind of social energy. Not saying that everyone on Earth is going to be feeling a little bit more social, but under a full moon in Libra, that would certainly be maybe a theme of kind of gathering together under this kind of Venus energy. However, I will also say like, Libra, it can also rule things around like fairness, justice, and balance, because Libra is, again, you know, like something like it's connected to like that symbol of these scales. So again, maybe kind of noticing where things are out of balance. Again, kind of calling back to that Venus Saturn conjunction. Like, is this out of balance? Is this something that I'm wanting to commit to, or is this something that I may be wanting to kind of break away from right now? Because Venus, again, she has a lot of strength in the sign of Pisces. So I feel like she's going to be kind of calling the shots during this full moon. Also, this full moon, there is some kind of interesting kind of crunchy things going on with it. Even though we have, you know, it's ruled by Venus in Pisces, which I think is, you know, just generally a net positive. There are two things going on that I wanted to mention. One is that the full moon is going to be opposite Chiron almost exactly. And Chiron, I talked about Chiron on the podcast and on my YouTube channel before, but Chiron can often have to do with like our inner wounds, with our pain and things that we're like healing from. And so I think this can really sort of bring deep awareness around like what lessons we're learning. There could be something like painful around this full moon, or like this full moon, you know, sometimes Libra and like Venus kind of ruled signs can sometimes like, well, yes, I'm hurting inside, but let's have a glass of wine and talk to our friends, and like and you know, that might make it better. But with this full moon, it's like, no, it's sort of like time to sort of there is like a maybe like a going inward, or an awareness of something deeper, of something that we're healing through, or something about a healing process, or something about some wound or some trauma kind of coming up with this full moon. So there's something, I think, kind of emotional around this full moon. And again, it could be something connected to a relationship or something Venus related because of that Libra stuff. However, it could be something totally unrelated. But just know that there is something that we're kind of working through with this full moon, and sort of like a collective awareness of like our sort of wounds or trauma or something like that. This full moon is also going to be square Mars. And remember, Mars has been dragging its ass through Cancer for the past several months through since January 2025. And we're on the tail end of this Mars and Cancer transit. I believe on April 18th, it goes into the sign of Leo, finally. And, Mars and Cancer, Mars being the planet of action, of energy, of motivation, and drive in the sign of its fall. Mars and Cancer can have a hard time kind of getting going, or its energy and motivation can fluctuate in literally themes of being crabby or edgy. Cancer is a very emotional sign. It's ruled by the moon. Mars can have a more challenging time going through Cancer. I will say for me, I've definitely noticed some positives of Mars and Cancer. It's not always just because a planet is in a challenging position doesn't mean that it can't create positive effects, but it is more challenging. So this full moon in Libra, square Mars, this can sort of prompt, under this full moon, there can be a prompting to take action or maybe stand up for yourself or another. However, Libra and Cancer are both signs that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with conflict. And there can be some kind of edginess or reactiveness under this full moon energy, because Mars and Cancer is a very reactive sign. Like, Mars and Cancer is not necessarily an energy that is going to tell you outright when its feelings are hurt. It might it might stew a little bit or be a little bit more edgy. And under this full moon, it's sort of like those little pricks of things that we might just sort of normally shrug off or brush off might just become there might be a little bit more emotion under that. So I'm going to say there is a little bit of maybe irritable energy or emotional energy or reactive energy with this full moon. It's not a huge deal breaker, but also we could just be feeling like a little bit more of the energy of Mars. Like, I need to take action. Like, I'm feeling some kind of vague irritableness. Honestly, like things like going to the gym, getting a sweat on, something where you're creating heat and energy and like releasing pressure somehow is going to be helpful during this full moon. It also could just be time to like talk about feelings and work something out in relationships. Granted, because this full moon in Libra is very much about our relationships and these sort of Venus things and things that we are committed to. So if there's kind of little issues to work out, you might be prompted to do it under this full moon, because it's like, you know what? I really don't like that thing that you said to me 3 months ago at this party. And your partner's like, I didn't even think you were mad about that. It's kind of like that stuff kind of comes out around this full moon. So let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about with this kind of week's energy before we get going on these horoscopes. Okay, let's talk about Aries. So Aries, the full moon is happening in let me actually move this here. Sorry, suspense for Aries. I just have to organize my desktop really quick. So the full moon is happening in your 7th house, partnership. So there could definitely be this kind of classical kind of relationship or partnership decisions or simply awareness or illumination happening there. It could be a romantic partner. It could also just be getting clarity in like the one-on-one relationships in your life, or kind of taking stock of those things, or perhaps there's just more activity connecting to people in your life. Or also this could extend to the kind of formal contractual agreements that you have with others as well. Granted, and that this full moon is ruled by Venus in Pisces, and she is going to be conjunct Saturn in the 12th house. It kind of gives me a feeling of like private realizations, insights, profound insights that come through like alone time. It could be things relating to decisions and commitments that are actually about like mental health things, about or it could be about health things that you're sort of dealing with over a long-term period of time. It could also just be around like the things around like the inner voice in our head. Like 12th house can be very much like because 12th house can be very much kind of like our demons or like our shadow or things. The 12th house is not always a pleasant kind of experience. However, this full moon ruled by Venus conjunct Saturn in your 12th house by Venus and Pisces specifically. It's sort of like there's like acceptance around these things, or like, like, yes, there's things I still want to work on about myself, or like, or there's just things that like, you know what, I can't change that. But it's sort of having like forgiveness and grace and kind of letting go and moving on. Like there's something deeply psychological, and there's something I think deeply healing in this full moon for you, and just kind of letting go of something or accepting something. And granted, remember that Chiron will be in opposing this full moon, so it could have something very like real, like very literally having to do with like body healing, or dealing with something around, or healing something around your body image or identity, or the way that you kind of come across to others, or the way that you present yourself in the world. So it definitely feels like there's something healing around this full moon for you. Let's go ahead and talk about Taurus. Let's bring this up. So Taurus, this full moon for you is actually in your 6th house of work. So there could be some completion or culmination or illumination awareness connected to work things, certainly connected to health things, or illness or injury or something around that. I'm not saying like you're going to get injured. It's just like, oh, like there's maybe some completion on some kind of health thing for you, or maybe like a work project, or perhaps there's awareness, or something connected to like your relationships in your work. It could be something with a coworker, or people that you work for, or people who work for you. Perhaps you're thinking that there's something kind of moving. Maybe you're moving on with something work-wise, or perhaps there's just simply like a lot of activity also in the workplace. It could also have something to do with a pet, or like domestic animals as well. Let's see where we're at here. So, Pisces is the 11th house, yes. Or no, 11th house. So, Venus going direct in your 11th house, conjunct Saturn, really being aware of like who is a friend for life and who is like a friend temporarily, who is sort of just an associate versus like a true homie, a true ally. Maybe you're making long-term commitments with different groups or organizations that you are part of, or perhaps you're kind of having more awareness on like your goals and wishes and hopes for the future, and things that you're wanting to kind of manifest later in your life that you're kind of ready to work for, and some that you're kind of ready to let go of as well. Keep in mind that Aries is your 12th house, and that's where Chiron is during this full moon. So there's something, I think, like there's some healing of something private during this full moon, or awareness of something kind of bubbling up in your subconscious. It's like, I wasn't aware I had a fear of that. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't realize that my money issues are having to do with like a fear of abandonment, for example. Also, one thing I wanted to mention too is that Saturn and Venus during this full moon will be sextiles, like a harmonious aspect, is a quiet aspect to Uranus in your sign. So it's sort of like there's something about embracing the unconventional, or like unconventional relationships, or something. There's something maybe like out of the box for you. It's not just about commitments and like your duty. It's because you've had a long journey with Uranus, the planet of revolution and change, in Taurus, going through your signs I think through 2015 is like how long it's been in Taurus. You've had a really kind of like a long journey with like breaking up routines and structure in your life a little bit, or learning to be more flexible, or learning to embrace the weird and strange and unusual. There's going to be a little hint of that with this full moon. It's sort of like, but it's like a way that's sort of constructive. It's like, you know what? Like, I'm not saying that this full moon, if you're monogamous, you're all of a sudden going to be polyamorous. But it's sort of like there's something a little like with Venus kind of embracing change, or embracing something conventional, even as she has to do with like long-term kind of commitment relationship stuff. That is what we got for you, Taurus. Let's see. Gemini are next, my dears. Gemini, we have the full moon in Libra is happening in your 5th house. So something going on. There's, some kind of completion, culmination, announcement, awareness, illumination connected to a child, something connected to a romantic relationship. This could very much be like you know, like if something has kind of been lingering or like in the air connected to romance for you, this could definitely be like, hey, we're definitely going to move on and we're like in a relationship now. Or you could be also be doing the opposite and being like, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. This is like a retrograde mistake. This could also be something around like a creative project or something around your creativity in general. I'm going to say under this full moon, try to have some fun, try to socialize a little bit, connect to like a creative or art project, or just do something that's fun for you. Like if that's vegging on the couch watching Netflix or working on like a little craft hobby, you know, definitely do that. There also could just be something happening in like a child's life who's close to you as well under this full moon. This full moon being ruled by Venus and Pisces, conjunct Saturn in your 10th house is interesting. Recently, you know, Mercury went direct in your 10th house of career. So perhaps you're kind of getting more clarity and direction on career matters right now. With Venus conjunct Saturn in your 10th house, it's sort of like, um, you know, like kind of like deciding maybe deciding what career relationships are worth it to you, or deciding how you maybe want to, what things are really worth it to you in your career, or perhaps you are, um, you know, maybe you're working with mentors or elders or people who have more wisdom and experience than you, and perhaps it's sort of like really time to listen to them, because this again would be. Because Saturn can represent older people or elders or people with more like wisdom and experience. So, you know, like, or it could just be some commitment, you know, connected to like a person with like authority or something with your career. But you also could just be decided, like, you also could really be deciding like, like, is my career path for me? Like, do I want to take it in a different direction? Do I want to change something about my public image? It's like Venus is getting more clarity around those things and also really deciding like on commitment where she wants to go with those things. So that's what we have for Gemini. A Cancer rising. So what do we have for you, my loves? My loves. Where's Libra? Oh, here it is. I was like, what the hell is Libra in your chart? Cancer rising, the full moon is falling in your 4th house of home and family. So, you know, this could be representing like an event coming up with your home, or something connected to a family matter for you. It could just be feeling like, you know, I want to spend more time at home right now, or there's just like a lot of activity in the home. It could be something going on with parents. It could also maybe prompt something connected to, yeah, I would say home, real estate, property matters, parents, family relationships, and your home space kind of stuff is what's happening around you this full moon. You know, this full moon is square Mars in your 1st house, wrapping up its journey in your 1st house. So you've been feeling a little edgy, a little irritated, maybe stuff going on with your physical body that has to do with like literal inflammation. You have just, maybe you've been having to sort of stand up for yourself more. And you're like, what the hell's going on? Well, Mars in Cancer. However, that is finishing up like over this full moon. Thank God. But I'm going to say this full moon there may be something around like, yeah, I don't know, having to assert myself connected to my family, or having to sort of put an effort connected to home. You know, it may not be like, it doesn't have to be like a conflict or something bad, but given that Mars is right there, you might just be feeling a little bit more edgy maybe during this full moon, or it's not necessarily just this easygoing kind of Libra pleasure Venus feeling. It's like I'm having to maybe kind of get out some of that edgy kind of feeling. Like this might be like the time that you're like, you know what, I'm finally going to rearrange this room. It's going to take me all fucking day, but to move all the furniture, I'm just going to get it done. That's kind of what it's maybe giving me. Essentially, it's like something connected to effort, and energy, and like asserting yourself, but maybe connected to the home or connected to family. Could be some sort of thing that you're doing around this full moon energy. And also I do want to point out, you know, you did just have a solar eclipse in Aries that we had on, I believe it was the 29th of March, that final eclipse in Aries in your 10th house of career, of public reputation, of your, you know, of your, what is it, career, public reputation, professional reputation, things connected to authority figures. There could still be some stuff going on with that. But I do feel this more as connected to family for you. I will say it is opposing Chiron in your 10th house of, I think that you're maybe going through something, some sort of healing process, some sort of process of healing wounds, trauma. I keep saying wounds and trauma connected to career. Maybe some sort of painful realization, or maybe some sort of acceptance of something connected to career. I'm not sure what exactly is going on for you. It's going to be dependent on the person, but do know that that's kind of coming up with this full moon as well. This full moon is ruled by Venus and Pisces conjunct Saturn in your 9th house. This could be, Venus conjunct Saturn kind of rules. It's sort of about like, these realizations, or accepting the realities of things in like relationships and commitments. And or maybe like the beginning of a long-term commitment, of something. In your 9th house, this could be like relationships with people from other cultures, or from other or from like foreign places, or from other places, people who are different than you, people with like a different background than you. This could be about like, hey, like I'm really wanting to study something in higher education. I'm really wanting to study something about spirituality or astrology, or history or philosophy or something like that. It could also be, like deciding what your it's, again, Venus is values as well. It's like, what do I value? In 9th house is anything connected to publishing and media, long-term, long-distance travel, other cultures, higher mind. So just maybe deciding kind of what you're valuing, and maybe even like what what your beliefs are, like also too, like what your sort of personal philosophy is. So there could be something going on with that as well. So we have Leo. Okay. Leo, the full moon for you is falling in your 3rd house. So, perhaps something comes up with like a short trip, or like traveling. Perhaps there is like events connected to your car or your commute or your mode of transportation, or there's stuff that's coming up around local community, or even maybe something going on with like a sibling, in your life as well, because 3rd house rules all those things. It could be the completion of like a communication project, or something that you're learning or studying, or some kind of certification. The moon does rejoice in the 3rd house. So, things connected to like the mundane routine is maybe there's some kind of, it's like a little juicier than normal for you. It's like, I would really kind of relish like the trip to the coffee shop. I would like, this is a full moon that, I'm going to go work on my writing in like a coffee shop, and like kind of observe my surroundings and talk to people and talk to a stranger. Granted that, Libra is a very kind of social energy. This is also a really good full moon to get, to pull a tarot card for any kind of divination, or to get any kind of, insight, connected, to like whatever you want to know in your life, because the goddess, the 3rd house is also considered the house of the goddess. So this would be a great time to kind of seek answers from the divine, or from like the wellspring of your own kind of subconscious. Especially because it is going to be opposite Chiron, and it's going to really kind of tell you, it's like where your sort of deepest wounds are, or perhaps we're sort of communicating about our wounds in some way. This full moon is being ruled by Venus conjunct Saturn, and that is going to be in your 8th house. So, things connected to, kind of knowing okay, things, oh my God, words today, speak, communicate, let's go. Things that have worth to you, or that you value, connected to money, specifically loans, investments, credit, loans, inheritance, taxes, money that you share with someone else, money that's connected to backers and fundraisers and things like that. Kind of, us going direct may actually give you some clarity. It's like, hey, I'm paying for subscriptions I want to pay for, or I'm overpaying for this service, I'm going to change it. I'm overpaying for my insurance, or, or how you share your resources and energy with other people. It's like, hey, there's a power imbalance with how me and my partner are splitting the bills. They make a lot more money for me. This is kind of bullshit. I'm going to say something about it. We're kind of looking at your long-term investment strategies. Also, could be something kind of going on here as well. Venus conjunct Saturn here too. It's just going to give you, I think, more insight into your like intimate relationships, like once you're in a relationship with someone, like the trauma that we both carry, the energy that we share with each other, and kind of how we're sort of functioning in this relationship, the emotional sort of like the emotional intricacies of like relationships. So that's what we have for you, Leo. Okay. So Virgo rising, the full moon is falling in your second house of money and finances. So there's some kind of completion, illumination, or big awareness connected to your cash, your assets, your checks that are made out to you, your earned income, and also just like the ways in like also just like things that hold worth and value to you. Big time deal during this full moon. This could be like, hey, you know what? I've been undercharging. Like I'm self-employed. I'm undercharging. I'm going to give myself a raise. It could be something connected to. It could be something connected to that. Particularly because you do have Jupiter, that planet of expansion, going through your 10th house, and it has been through since June 2024. So perhaps there has been some kind of expansion connected to career since then. With this full moon, and also this full moon is going to be there's also like a big relationship component, I think, for with this full moon for you, because Venus is in Pisces. She's in her place of power, and she's in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships and one-on-one commitments. So you may be really thinking about like, do I have time to commit to this partnership right now? Do I have time for this relationship? Or this relationship is definitely something I'm going to make time for. Or thinking about the different, it could be, your relationship to your job. It doesn't have to just be like relationships with people. Your like kind of contractual agreements. It's like, am I getting something out of this anymore? Is this really for me? Things like that. You're going to have, I think, clarity on what you are committing yourself to, especially because sometimes I think Virgo rising or mutable risings can kind of stretch themselves kind of thin, because mutable energy kind of wants to be everywhere. So, yeah, I'm going to say clarity on your relationships and commitments are definitely coming in with this full moon, but also, things connected to job, to money, to how you are making your money, to how you make a living. It's very much connected to this full moon as well. So that's what we got for Virgo. Okay, Libra rising. Oh, the star of this full moon. Okay, so the full moon is happening in your sign. Big full moon for you, because at the same time it's announcing that your ruling planet is also going direct. So let's actually talk about that first. So Venus is stationing direct essentially during this full moon, and it's really going to kind of pull a lot of focus, especially to workplace, who you work with, who you work for, work routines, how you work, things connected to also how you take care of health, your physical body, things also connected to pets and animals as well. So you're going to be really kind of realizing like, what brings worth and what brings value to you within your work, and also what's worth it to you for health. It could be like, this job isn't feeding me as much as it should. I would be looking for something else. I'm actually fully done. I'm looking for something else because I'm not treated with the worth and value that I know I have. Also, this could be about, maybe we are kind of officially beginning some like long-term relationship, maybe with someone that we're employing, or perhaps it's our employer or something that's kind of looking at like, hey, I'm really seeing value in this relationship. I'd like to begin something kind of significant with this person I want to work for. It also could be, so I don't know what it would be regarding pets and animals. I don't think I'm going to delineate that, but that can certainly be a topic going on for you. And also just Venus going direct, I think you're going to start to feel, if you've been feeling kind of off, I think this is going to be like, it's going to just, I think, bring you a lot of clarity, because Venus is your ruling planet. Full moon in Libra in your sign, this can definitely be illumination, completion, the finishing of some kind of chapter. and just feeling like, this could just be as mundane as like, I feel like I need to just cleanse my house, feel like I need to clean my surroundings, and I feel like it's time for like a new wardrobe or some kind of new look or something. It's like out with the old and in with the new me, kind of. It could definitely have something to do with like relationships for you as well, because we're still, I think, maybe feeling the reverberations or the effects from that solar eclipse that we had in your 7th house of partnership 2 weeks ago, because you have had a lot kind of going on with yourself, with your identity, and with relationships like the past 2 years, and this is kind of wrapping all of that up essentially. So it just feels like some kind of big completion, kind of closing out chapter. There might be something with career coming up for you for this full moon as well, because it is square Mars on the planet of action, motivation, and energy in your 10th house of career. So it could prompt like action in career, like maybe you're just feeling like a little edgy about something in career as well. But yeah, that's what we have for you, Libra. Scorpio rising, we have the full moon in Libra is your 12th house. Okay. I mean, I really would say like your 12th house is interesting because it's sort of like maybe some like the socialization that you like to do, or pleasure, or hanging with friends is sometimes like you might have a closer kind of inner circle. It's like this full moon, it's like you might want to socialize and kind of have fun, but also with only like your people that are like really close to you, or like behind closed doors in some way. And otherwise, I would say like themes around like rest and retreat and mental health and spiritual health and like taking care of yourself can really kind of come in here, especially because you may have had just like a lot kind of going on with the work and health and your grind and how you take care of yourself. I think you need to relax a little looking at this. And, also like your ruling planet Mars been struggle bussing through Mars and Cancer. That's almost done. You're going to have a lot of action with career coming up too, with Mars going into that 10th house of career. So I think really take a chill pill this full moon. Also, you could be getting a lot of clarity around your romantic relationships, things that bring you pleasure, your hobbies, how you have fun, creative things. Simply because Venus is going direct in your 5th house. Perhaps you have been having a little bit of fun. Maybe there is some kind of new spark that you're like, I'm not sure about this, because Venus has been retrograde. You're going to get some clarity, or things may feel like they're officially kind of moving forward in that department, or something with the child. Just because again, that's 5th house sort of related stuff for you. But this could definitely be, it's possible that there's like a long-term commitment happening for you, especially because you have a new moon in your 7th house of relationship coming up. And I think listen to the strings of your heart, because Venus is going to be coming up on that North Node soon. Pour yourself into a passion or hobby, or like allow yourself to, I think, indulge creatively, romantically. You want to fall in love with life a little bit while Venus is in Pisces, even though she's going to be conjunct Saturn. And she's like very aware of her limits right now. So, and the kind of realistic kind of commitment stuff. But, once that energy passes, she's going to be conjunct the North Node. And I just feel like don't let that transit pass you by without enjoying it somewhat. So, all right. Let's look at Sagittarius rising. Aquarius, my loves, my children. I don't want to saying my children. Okay, whatever. But I do have a lot of friends who are Sag rising, so maybe I'm qualified. So full moon for you is in your 11th house. It could be the completion or culmination of something to do with a group that you belong to, an organization. It could just be something going on with like friends, or something going on with like a close friend's life, the house of your allies, your friends, associates, groups, your social circle, that kind of thing. So completion, culmination, illumination of something, and awareness of something connected to that, or also maybe just kind of connected to your goals as well, like your goals, wishes, and hopes for the future. This energy is ruled by Venus and Saturn, by Venus stationing direct in your 4th house of home and family. So it could be that like, hey, we don't really know where to put this painting, or like how we want to decorate our home, or how we want to bring beauty and harmony to our home and family. Venus going Venus going direct in your fourth house can also help with like your relationships with your family. Um, Getting clarity on long-term commitments regarding real estate, home, family members, parents. It could be that, we're deciding on like a long-term commitment, like regarding home. It's like, this might be the time that like, hey, we're going to look at maybe hiring like a real estate agent, if we're moving or we have something changing in our home. It's like, that's when we can kind of go ahead and like sort of make these sort of long-term contracts, look at these long-term commitments because we have more clarity around these things, connected to home and family. And this would frankly be a really good time too to like buy new furniture or like revamp or refresh your kind of home surroundings somewhat. But also maybe bringing in things that would be quality and long term, things that wouldn't just like look like shit like in like a couple years, for instance. Um, we do have this full moon is opposite Chiron in your fifth house. I'm gonna say like I really don't know what to say about this. Chiron, the full moon opposite Chiron in your fifth house, aware of some sort of wound or trauma or healing process connected to creativity, art, romance, something with children. It's like some kind of realization kind of comes through here. It could be about maybe your childhood or something. I'm not really sure how to put it. I do just kind of want to make you aware of it just because that full moon, opposite Chiron, I think can be kind of gnarly or just a little bit more emotional than we might normally kind of feel on this full moon in Libra. So, Capricorn, the full moon for you is going to be falling in your 10th house. With that solar eclipse in Aries we had 2 weeks ago, definitely maybe some completion, some ending, or some closing out of a cycle. It's like a new beginning, but also closing out of a cycle connected to home and family stuff, connected to home, parents, family, your property, anything connected to the home. And with this full moon in Libra, this is more of a completion, a culmination energy, and awareness and insight connected to your career. It also could just be like represent some sort of event or something happening, perhaps like a boss leaves, or maybe we're at like a milestone in our career. Maybe we're thinking we're going to do something else. Or for some reason, we're just focused on like events connected to career, work, public and professional reputation connected to this full moon. Perhaps it's like a social thing. There's like a social event happening connected to work or career. So that's kind of taking center stage, but at the same time, this full moon is going to be ruled by that Venus stationing direct in Pisces. So you're going to have more clarity connected to maybe relationships with siblings, with close childhood friends. And maybe it could be time for like a long-term commitment or decision. Like if you're like looking at a new car, if you're looking at like how you're getting to point A to point B, that is third house energy. Perhaps we're sort of getting clear on like, hey, like we're going to be doing some traveling. Like where are we traveling and how are we doing it? Could also be how you're approaching like learning something or like what you want to study, or something connected to like a communications project can also be here as well. So Venus stationing direct is going to give you some more ease connected to that. And also because, Mercury did station direct there as well a couple days ago. So just having more clarity around your like mundane kind of correspondences and routines in your life. That's going to be starting to flow more easily. Aquarius rising. So this full moon for you is happening in, where is it happening? I can't see because my thing isn't pulling up. Here we go. I was like doing it in my head. Ninth house. So this could be completion, culmination, kind of full moon stuff, illumination, awareness, or activity connected to higher education, your beliefs, your personal political philosophy. It could be anything connected to higher education, kind of college and beyond, or like any kind of spiritual thing or religion, anything connected to long distance travel, and also publishing and media things. It also could be a legal thing too, as well, like completion of some legal thing for I think some of you as well. So it might be that we are making decisions on travel, or that we have travel coming up, or that we're completing some sort of long-term course, or that we're like made a decision like, I got a mentor, I'm studying astrology, I bought an astrology course. Doing tarot, something connected to those kinds of things can also be very ninth house. And also, I just think it would really kind of be, I think you'll be getting kind of deep and contemplative during this full moon because it is, opposite Chiron, kind of prompting you really to kind of go within. But it's like, I just think that there's something connected to divinity, to spirituality, or something that's going to kind of open and it kind of expand your mind. And it could be through traveling, it could be through connection with other cultures, things like that. This full moon though is ruled by Venus in Pisces, and I think having some awareness on worth and value connected to finances, particularly your worth on what your earning potential, or worth connected to your goods and movable assets and your cash and things like that. Venus conjunct Saturn in your second house right now with Venus going direct, it can be like, this can be about like really considering carefully like a large purchase, or considering kind of where we're sort of putting our money or how we're spending money, or our values connected to like our budget, and things connected to that. So that's very possible that we're kind of, been kind of connected to or concerned with like our finances, with Venus going direct or with Venus going retrograde in Pisces. So if going direct now, it's sort of like you can go ahead and sort of make those decisions, or you might have more clarity around those sort of financial decisions, essentially, or kind of what your worth is relating to money. I just feel like I said money like Susie Orman. Your money. So Susie Orman, I think, famously has, I think she's a Taurus. I'm not sure what her sun is. She might be Taurus, but I know she has Mercury in Taurus. And it's just funny that she talks about money a lot. So because Taurus is a sign that's connected to worth and value in money. So this full moon for Pisces rising, yes. Eighth house. Awareness, illumination, completion, ending of a cycle, connected to how we share money, loans, credits, debts, taxes, inheritance, lottery winnings. Also like partners' money and how we kind of share our energy with people. There's some kind of like illumination or something connected to that. You have had maybe a lot of stuff with finances, with personal finances, with finances that you share with other people, because of the eclipses in your second and eighth houses that are done now. So we just had this like completion and ending, kind of closing of a cycle in your second house of earned money or earned income 2 weeks ago, on March 29th. And so I just feel like there's some sort of deeper realizations around like power dynamics in relationships, who holds the power, who has the money, also kind of, and even beyond money, realizations and insight, I think, connected to like the emotional intricacies of our intimate relationships and how we're connected, and like the energy that we can kind of take on from people sometimes, how we project things onto others, like really kind of awareness of that, especially because this full moon is going to be opposite Chiron, that planetary body object in our sky, connected to wounds and trauma and healing. So it's like something about healing at like the deepest level for you, really maybe kind of feeling vulnerable, with things connected to like money stuff in relationships, basically, and like our fears associated with that. So Pisces, big news for you is that Venus is going direct in your sign, and she's conjunct Saturn in your sign. This would be a time to sort of go ahead, and it's like, I think it's interesting. Like Venus going through your sign by itself in general, it's like a time to indulge, to relate, fun, to do things connected to the arts and pleasure and, that sort of thing. So you may be feeling like, I'm ready to sort of make bigger decisions on that. I also just think that you could be making decisions on relationships right now, or like a long-term relationship starts to move forward, or we are aware more of like our long-term commitments in relationships, but also like self-worth stuff kind of comes up for me as I look at this energy, because this could like give you very clear awareness of things around self-worth, basically. I don't really know what I want to say. Hold on. Pisces being, Venus being in your sign, Saturn being in your sign, it's sort of like you've really gone through this, I think, long growth journey with Saturn, like learning, like maybe having to take on more responsibility on things, just having very deep awareness of your long-term commitments, and also things relating to just like things that are hard work but take a long time. I just feel like deep self-worth stuff is kind of what I get for you with Venus going direct. And also even like this might be a good time for like any kind of like things that help you express yourself, or things connected to your identity, or like looking at like pieces of like wardrobe or things, because Venus is like, beautiful things. Saturn is things that last a long time. This might be a really good time for like, yeah, I bought this new thing that looks really good on me, but also it's not going to fall apart in a couple years or a couple months. It's like going to sort of last through time. So just, I think just kind of being aware of like your own beauty and like the gifts that you bring. I don't really know. It's interesting. I just think being aware of Venus going direct in your sign, take time to appreciate beauty, take time for relationships. Again, I think April is this theme of kind of just moving forward and kind of feeling like we are actually kind of having some beginnings, or like time starts to move forward, because we've been retreading a lot of the same ground this year. And April, it's like we finally start to kind of get going. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. It may not be. But anyway, I was like, I'm having a hard time describing that Venus Saturn conjunction in your first house. But I think awareness of like long-term relationship stuff is something going to be coming up for you. So that is all she wrote for this forecast. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you had a constructive, positive, social, delightful full moon. Maybe a little edginess to this full moon, but you know what? We can deal with it, can't we? Because Mars is almost out of Cancer. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel, that you like the channel, or like this video. Leave a comment for me. Let me know maybe how you're feeling this full moon, or what your sign is and how you're feeling kind of this month. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching. My name is Alexander Creek. You can find more about me and my readings and book a reading with me at dogstarOracle.com. Of course, and that's always going to be in the comments on YouTube, or in the show notes, DOGSTAR Oracle.com. Talk to you soon.